the minutes from September 12th, 2025 attached. They were emailed to me. So any corrections, changes? Can I have a motion to approve them?
Also moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. New business. Don't really have a report. Much very important. A lot of compliance paperwork for DOC that had to sign. So folks shall be doing it all right. Because it's thick. So I just signed it, the audit information that came from the DOC about a month ago that I had to sign. But nothing new that I have. Mike? No. Sure. Okay. I'll move off real quick. Michelle, give us our financial summary.
Coming up to the end of the year for the results grant. This summary, obviously, we have a little bit of our grant money remaining, but working with the financial manager here at Community Systems, she believes that we will be able to spend the grant funding all the way down to last estimate $44. So that'll be the best we've ever done, I think, as far as spending that money. And then hoping that gives us a stronger case when we write a grant for 2027 that we need additional funding, although that does not sound like that is what we'll have. We'll talk about later. Other than that, we just have the transfers. A large number of transfers that is due to the fact that we are trying to spend all that grant funding. So we're trying to move funding to areas where we know we can spend it before the end of the year so that we can get that done. There is one additional appropriation in here, and that has to do with an extra grant fund that we have, which is where we receive our drug-free money, as well as a Walmart grant that we had received to help pay for food for CIT trainings. We haven't used all that money yet, and for some reason, and we do not know why, when the auditor, excuse me, when the auditor did the transfer for the end of the year, they didn't do the entire amount. They picked, I think it was like $4,000, and we don't know why, because it wasn't the amount that needed transferred. So now we're just trying to make up the difference and actually be able to spend all the money that should be in that account. So that's pretty additional scope. Does anyone have any questions on any of the transfers?
I have a question about, you're talking about all of them, right?
Yeah.
Tactical flashlight.
Yeah.
Kind of tactical flashlight.
So what we wanted to do was to get some very bright LED flashlights from our, we're working on getting more of our staff out in the field, and we didn't have appropriate equipment for everyone. And so what we wanted to do was get some strong, durable, very bright LED flashlights that are rechargeable. And so that's what we ordered, these flashlights.
You don't know the brand?
Not off the top of my head, but I can find out.
Power.
He wants to play with it.
Does it have a growing function
Yes,
to incapacitate people?
probably not, but they
Oh,
can wait.
wait a minute. You're afraid with one of those stroke things? I guess it will. Duty belts. What's a duty belt?
Specifically, they're thicker nylon and adjustable.
But an external gun belt to be worn over your regular belt?
Yes, but for most of our staff, they don't carry firearms, but we want them to be able to have their flashlight, their radio, and glove pouch and some other equipment on the belt. So we wanted more than just like a leather belt or something that you would like personally.
What kind of belt?
Which brand?
Mhm.
I would go look. I did not memorize that.
Can we create a ballistic equipment committee for Judge Strange?
So it's a belt that is actually designed to be threaded through belt loops.
No, it has belt keepers to attach it to whatever belt you're wearing underneath.
You're gonna get the Velcro belt that goes through the loops. and
Exactly, yep.
attaches it to
That
the
came
belt
with,
outside.
it was kind of a kit.
I like all that.
Okay.
I should have asked if you wanted to.
Yeah, I thought maybe he's looking to purchase.
If y'all have any more questions about the tactical,
Okay.
It's external information. Michelle has, had done a bunch of work. We purchased vests not only, to update her staff, but to update my staff, judges, to make sure everybody had, updated equipment. And so both her office, my office have, end of the year orders to make sure that we have the ability to do, the searches that are required by statute, safely and effectively, for DeKalb County.
I would make a motion that we approve the transfers collectively.
second.
All right, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Transfers are approved.
Mere technicality, but if we say if we approve the transfers, we all assuming the additional appropriation is also included in that
I will
conversation.
amend my motion accordingly.
Okay, all right, we are going to include the additional appropriation. Okay. We have some things coming up, in our juvenile programs. I'm going to turn that over.
Yeah, we are actually having an open house on December 22nd and 23rd from 10 to 1. So it's all open. So if anybody wants to come by and see our new digs, we'll give a little tour and everything and show you through the new Change Academy kind of location, new layout, and also the choice and case location. So it should be pretty interesting. So we invite everyone out there to take a look at that. We currently have about 80 participants on the program. DeKalb Central, we have 3 high school, 1 middle school with 1 awaiting intake. DeKalb Eastern, we have 1 high school with 1 awaiting intake. And Garrett, we have 1 high school and 2 middle school students with 1 intake on the way. We've kind of well underway with our bottom classes that we've been administering at Change. All the staff have been facilitating this, and that's been going very well. All the students have been really receptive to it, and it's been a good inclusion into the program. That's been super positive. We've gotten a lot of enthusiastic participation from the students, which is super. So we're really happy about that. We're also planning on some other trainings there for the students, the junior achievement and Children's First Center. In terms of training, Change staff has completed training in mindfulness and stress reduction, which we've also implemented that in the bottom class, suicide awareness and safety related courses. We also attended the Great Kids Conference recently at the Coliseum, and it's a really good experience for all.
Just in terms of your numbers, I approved and ordered lunch yesterday, so
Okay.
plus 1.
Plus 1.
I have a juvenile issue. Half the room knows I think of this, half doesn't. The state laboratory has informed basically everybody that asked that they will not test THC products that are contained in vapes or gummies. And they will test leaf-based marijuana. I created a problem because in juvenile cases, most of the time we're seeing in schools, I think, is vape and gummies or vapes for the most part. So there was a period of time where we basically said we're not charging anything because we can't test it. We have no ability to test it. We have now found a private lab that can test it. There seems to be no momentum from the state legislatures to get the state lab what they need to actually test vapes or gummies. They basically say $4 million in a year of process to train everybody, get the equipment they need. So only for juveniles, we've come up with a different solution. The problem with that is it costs hundreds of dollars per test. I have no money in my budget to be able to handle that testing. We've had 2 come in since we changed the process and we had a private lab. We haven't had to send those to the lab yet, but the point of this is obviously this relates to the program itself. If that becomes an issue, we're going to need to find money somewhere to test these products. And the issue becomes, because of the condensed juvenile timelines and the lead time they need to do these tests, it becomes an issue of how, if we don't get it tested right away, the case is in jeopardy. We don't have enough money to test everything, so we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants to some degree. So I just want to throw that out there. If we know of any funding sources, I know the schools, we talked about this weeks ago. We're going to be looking into some funding opportunities through grants. But know that the precarious little issue here, and we can't come up with funds for testing. Again, many of these, especially based upon admissions initially, we don't necessarily send them out right away. But it could become an issue down the road, especially if the legislature does nothing to help solve the problem. But they complains about certain prosecutors not prosecuting cases, specifically possession of marijuana, when they don't give us the tools to do it. So, that way.
You know, what's a test cost?
It depends, a couple of things, but as of right now, it looks like the minimum test that would be sufficient for evidentiary purposes is about $270. If it needs to be a quantitative test, it's more 400. If we would need someone to actually testify about that, we're talking thousands, so that would set the budget with 1 or 2 cases. So I found about $1,500 in my current budget to be able to use, which was not assigned to that. That's not going to go very far. So just throwing that out there that I think a decent percentage of the people, the kids in change are there because of that type of issue. So obviously we think it's better for those kids to stay in school, stay in the program, not just be sitting home expelled from school. But it would be helpful. I don't know if this is the appropriate place to find grants. I know, like I said, schools were looking into it. I think Marcus Wagner was on that, but I don't know what that is going to go.
I spoke directly with Mr. Wagner following our meeting. We discussed the process, who he was in contact with. He had a presentation that he did and through Mr. Teeters, myself, language wise, to get it through a funding source. My hope is that we can get an immediate answer from them first, and if that works, I think we'll be able to find a bulk of the needed budget from that. And if not, we get the answer in a hurry. We can start moving on to other sources. But it should be an immediate answer to that. The funding source is specifically built for that. And we do have to give the prosecutor's office the kudos of saying that they know it's an issue and a difficult budget issue. They're meeting it immediately with funds that they do have, and just looking at us to find the back end. And my hope is that we have an answer, and if we don't get it, hopefully, if they say no, we will stop everything we're doing and find money for them, because it's a necessity.
Just to throw this out there too, after you brought this to my attention, Neil, I did do some research. I'm not going to burden everybody with it, but I discovered potentially 2 additional options that we can approach this with. You and I will talk about that. I think they're both bad.
Anything else for the juvenile program? Yes. Our next thing is board member attendance. I'm not sure. Let's talk about this. Michelle had been in contact with me about this matter and put together a very nice email to some folks that are on our board but have not attended for a long time, and then sent that out to see if they were really still interested in being on the board. If they're not, then we'll have to fill those vacancies. So, Michelle, I'll let you bring us up to speed. Did anybody ever respond?
It did not. So I sent a letter to 3 board members. They are 3 of the lay persons. There are 4 lay persons by statute on the board. 3 of them haven't attended in he's our man, right? You're always here, right? There you are. So I did send them an email, end of October, and I did not receive a response from any of the three. So what I did on our agenda here was I did, copy and paste the sections of our bylaws about, absences and vacancies. Just so we could all have a reminder of what our board bylaws say. So it does say the board will remove any members, not required by law, which the layperson are not required by law. They are, actually positions that are appointed by the county commissioners. So I didn't find any section of our bylaws that specifically stated how that removal happens. It just said that they may be removed. And then that the vacancy should be filled according to section 2, which I also copied and pasted just so that everyone could see that. It says same manner as original appointment, and that manner for the laypersons is the county executive for us, the county commissioners.
So at this time, do we want to do anything, or do we want to give them one more shot? We have a meeting in February. Anybody's thoughts on what?
Have we given the commissioners a heads up that this is a reality with regard to the persons that they've appointed and contemplating this?
I did not. I wanted to bring it to the board first because of the bylaw saying that the board may remove. So,
It reads like a vote. It sounds like a vote.
If they haven't responded, you know, the interest isn't there. I think we just need to proceed on and let the commissioners, because they're gonna have to start finding candidates. You know, get somebody in mind, that many positions, so I think they need a heads up.
I think everybody on the board is aware that we had an extensive amount of involvement, from Mr. Watson, you know, for the period of time he was commissioner. So it'll be reinstituted to the commissioners to look at them and say, somebody from them and their members need to reinstitute some involvement.
Well, since we're gonna get the commissioners involved, maybe I'd suggest that we vote on whether we want to remove those three, and then we'll have to have a meeting with the commission to see how they want to proceed with that. So we can get something in place by 2026. So, who are our three lay people?
the three that I emailed were Lily Hand, Tammy Fake, and Jeremiah Otis.
Do I have any discussion about whether we want to reach out to anyone again? I know it was a very nice email Michelle put together, and she forwarded it to me, and I haven't had any response from them. So if not, I would, somebody make a motion that maybe removed from the board so that we can get in touch with the commissioners about that.
I make motion that we remove those individuals from the board and proceed on.
Yeah, second.
Yeah, I'm gonna second that.
You're a third.
I believe I haven't really seen that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
I get in touch about the approach to commissioners. The other thing we have about some board members, Michelle put together a list of, if you have in the packet and stuff, it has everybody on there, and when some of us are going to come up for getting reappointed, like myself, that'll be in June of next year. I would like to see if we could have a vote on those reappointments for the people that want to stay, not at this meeting, but either the February meeting or the meeting after that, because we only meet every other month, and June would be here pretty quick. So if I have any thoughts whether we should do that in February, otherwise it would be the April meetings.
I prefer February. I can't really tell you why, I just like getting things done.
Yeah, because we get somebody that doesn't want to stay on or something, we gotta find someone at that point. All right. Okay, just about, need a vote on it, I just want to make sure we get it on the agenda for the February meeting to deal with the folks that are coming up in 2026. Okay. Anything else on the board member attendance or going anybody to Michelle, anything else? No? Any other directors updates?
Yeah, a couple updates. The first one, just updating everyone that we continue to work on our correctional practices goals that we made with the Department of Corrections. Last phone call we had with them, we had made, several goals and we've pretty much completed all except one of them, which they commended us for and then said, now you need to make new goals, so you continue to have the same number of goals next. I said, well, that's fantastic. I would love to. So we're gonna be closing the goals that we've completed and then finding new goals to replace those goals. Off of the report that we received from the University of Cincinnati telling us how we could be the absolute A+ best criminal justice agency ever. So, when we create some new goals, I will share those with everyone on the board and I guess continue to update you all on how those are going for eternity. B, we kind of already hit on this, but we did purchase body armor and field supplies to expand our field supervision program. What we're trying to do specifically at community corrections is now that we've kind of been through our period of restructuring and had our probation officers for several years now, we would like to give them the opportunity to start going to the field. And so that required us to buy some new supplies. In that process, determined that all of our body armor is well expired. So also we've gotten body armor for our field officers, and they are on board and ready to help me train our probation officers in their practices when they're out, best practices for searching and things like that. I've also been in contact with the parole division's field officer trainer, and she just the other day said she's gonna ask for permission to send me everything she uses to train parole officers in the field, so that we can kind of sit through that and see what applies to us and what doesn't, what follows our policies and what we would need to edit before we use it to train any of our staff. So hoping that some of that is going to be useful because it does include several training videos with scenarios and different things that have happened that they use. So instead of reinventing the wheel, it'd be nice to kind of use it as a stepping stone to, I guess, targeted towards our own practices in our own community. So looking forward to getting a lot of that done and having some more opportunities for field work in the future. Any questions on that? Okay. C, this is something interesting that just happened about a month ago. The Department of Corrections financial department has told us that we are allowed to invest from our project income on our CTP accounts, which is not something we ever believed that we were able to do in the past. They said they verified it with state board of accounts. So what I would like to do, and I've already talked a little bit with the treasurer's office about it, how they invest some of the county funding and what the process is and what we need to do. And what I'm gonna be working on between now and our February meeting is also speaking with the auditor's office about it, doing some cash flow assessments to see if we have the ability to invest any of our project income without obviously getting in the way of current operations, what that amount would be and what our options are. And so I hope to collect that all and be able to bring it back to the February meeting and share it all with you guys. I think, so for the next point that I'm going to talk about too, we were very fortunate for 2026. The county council had decided to appropriate additional county general money for community corrections in order to allow us to give our staff raises kind of consistent with other county departments. And so just this week, the financial manager and I have done, I don't know, the 27th revision of the 2026 budget probably at this point. adding some of that funding in, to allow us to be ready for the first payroll for 2026. What we're looking at in doing that is obviously, this was done, during the kind of end of the budget cycle. And we didn't know what was gonna happen. We're very grateful for it. But when we look forward then to, the grant, application that we're gonna have to do, probably turn in by April, for 2027, we just, kind of looking ahead to what does that mean for sustainability and longevity of the program. I don't know specifically what the Department of Corrections has planned, but they did say that because of what happened for the 2-year state budget, that we should expect to have more grants for 2027 above what they already got in 2026. According to them, although they don't, if you read between the lines, let's put it that way, what happened was they've been overspending out of the 1006 and community corrections fund for a while because they've been using reverted funds from programs that didn't use their full grant amount in the past, and now that's running out. So they have to figure out how to stop overspending, and also they are up to their administrative costs, meaning the portion of the pot that they keep has increased to run their own department, their own division, and to do CTP funding. So looking forward for 2027, what I'm trying to do is be a little more proactive. So if there are things that we can do, such as figuring out how to do these investments so that we at least have some interest income coming from those. Another thing that I've been doing is kind of talking with Department of Corrections about other programs that they have run in the past, although they said they are on freeze right now. But they have run work release contracting in the past, which is similar to CTP, and that they would send folks to be in our residential program to do work release, and they would pay us a daily fee to do that. Another option that they said that they've done with certain programs is to hold parole violators that they want to continue working with in the community. They're not ready to send them back to incarceration completely, but they're having issues. So in other words, if we want to do something like that, we would be a graduated station for parole. And so my questions have been more for our sake, how do those referrals happen? Do we have the ability to say no to specific cases if there's a person that we know particularly hasn't done well here in the past or may have a problem with our program in particular? What does the removal process look like? How long would that take if there was something to be removed, sent to the Department of Corrections, and some other things like that? Right now, it's on hold because DOC has informed me that they are hiring and spending freeze until their next year, which their fiscal, so that's July. So what they have said is come back to us in July. But I wanted to put it out there because if they contact me back April or sometime that when I bring it back to the board to tell them whether or not it might be an option, I wanted it to already be in everyone's mind that these are things we could do to have another income stream and to make sure that we're staying viable and that we're doing what we need to do regardless of decisions in Indianapolis about budgeting.
I have a question. So when you talk about these parole violations being years, regional or is this for DeKalb County?
So I asked that question and they said it depends on how we write the contract. Others are written to be districts, but it could be written otherwise.
I never see people get violated for parole, or very rarely. I mean, so my fear is if they are violating them, they're bad. And I don't know that we want them in our community.
Yeah,
That's
so the parole officer for DeKalb actually comes to our office on Mondays and she does appointments here, and we also help her with her drug screening, and we've also allowed them to come here when they are doing field work and things like that, to come and use our facilities and things kind of as a home base. When she comes in, we actually have a lot of conversations with her about her folks because they're actually a lot of the same people that we already deal with. They're very familiar to us. A lot of times they've been on our programming before. We've seen them, or we have violated them and have been on parole with her. The other thing that we do with her is she does refer many of her clients to our classes, so like our MRT and our other classes that we offer here. So I think that for me was also one of the big questions is would we have control over who we would accept and would not accept as a referral? So what I would not want to do is just say that we would take anybody that they decide that they'd like to place. I think we would still have to screen them and approve them.
That has to be non-negotiable, doesn't it?
Yes. One of the things that's valuable with that, as Michelle says, is talking about getting preemptive. If you follow the governor, he went in and basically looked at DOC and said one of their main failures is reentry. You know, he looks at it and says the recidivist rates from out of DOC are insane. And he just looks at it and says, we have to do better at that portion. If we have a really good relationship with a parole officer here, we look at and we have somebody and she looks at it and says, well, he's working, doing all this, she's working, they're doing all the rest of those things really well. We got our first stroke. The easiest thing to do is pop them back into a partially, 12 to 15 hour a day lockdown, and they're just working in the back. You know, maybe they didn't get the opportunity for CTP, maybe they have some other reason. This would be their version of CTP, being able to pop them back in for a while, 30, 60, 90 days. But I would agree. I mean, I think that there many times the expectation and the level to get a full return is very high. So I think you could look at it and say, parole officers not doing that. But maybe if we give them an option to be the middle ground, we might be getting in on the ground floor of some of the things that DOC looks at in the future and says, these things work. They'll put more money towards that than they do some of the programs that are just old school, non-functional, or feeding a failed program.
Michelle, the other day when I was indulging myself in one of my hobbies, which is reading a law, I came across a community corrections funding statute that I did not exist. It had 9 categories. At some point, you and I probably should talk about that and take a look at it, because I wonder if it's viable for us. I didn't know. Take a look at it. I said it to Judge Miller. We're not sure whether it is actually what you're already doing or something different, but it certainly looks different. And if it is indeed funded, maybe you can say here, I've discovered that before, when there's some money and nobody applies for it, and it's just sitting there. So, we can talk about it.
Michelle, anything else? Other business, I'm gonna turn other business over for a minute to Judge Drill.
Kelly, man, come down here, please. So. So the other day, it came to my attention that within a few short days, you will have served the community as a probation for 3 decades. Yes. And you and I both have a bit of an aversion to showing up in large places where you're the central focal point of what they're doing. And I was, as a general rule, when somebody approached me and said, would you like to do this? Like, no, I'm not to do that. This is a different situation. I was asked if I wanted to do it. I said I would like to. And I genuinely did. You've helped me and worked with me for 9. Started 10. And I watched you work in an area that I cannot imagine is one of the most frustrating, nerve-wracking areas. Working with young people, you're trying to bring them back into line and trying to change their lives so that they avoid getting into the adult. You have way more successes than failures, in my opinion. But there are failures, but it's not because of you. It's just, not everything can be fixed, and you all know. And I just truly admire your work and what you've done for me. You've also become very, very good. I remember, what was that book you gave me when you first walked up here, when you first saw me in Judge, but you were this guy, and I don't know how I feel about this. I was given the opportunity, and I just absolutely wanted to do it. Precisely with your plan. Gratitude for your years, 30 years of service. It is, it's been an exemplary career. It really has. Work is fantastic. Your students dedicated. I was also given an envelope with absolutely no instructions as to what it was, or why I was being given this. I was only told about why. However, it does have your name. I'm assuming this is your name. And I personally, I very much,
They're both gifts.
I very much personally, because what you do is directly involved with what I do, which is working with our juveniles here in DeKalb County. I want to tell you,
Thank you.
you've been a wonderful person to walk in path with and to have.
I've
Can
enjoyed
we?
too many days I haven't enjoyed my,
Protective cover.
thank you, I haven't enjoyed my job. There have been days, but for the most part, I love working with juveniles. And I appreciate the opportunity to do it with all of you.
I don't want to follow up too much, so just a couple minutes of your time. I came in here about 8 years ago, to sit in a department completely new, didn't know anybody really. And then determine what direction we were gonna take. It took me about 2 days to figure out that there was an officer in the back corner who held sway for my entire department. Which means, they all looked at her, for leadership, advice. Some of them even called her mom. Not really, I'm sure it was appropriate, but she accepted it. I can tell you the moment that I knew I was where I was supposed to be and that I was doing what I was supposed to do, because I independently interviewed every officer in that department, sat down with them, asked them what they had had before, what they wanted from a leader, what they wanted for their department, what their expectations were for their career. It took about 2 seconds before Kelly looked at me and said it was about our kids. She took ownership of the juveniles that were on her caseload, knowing that many of them don't have the backing, parental structure, people who truly cared about them, to help walk them through the difficult parts of their life, that brought them in contact with the juvenile justice system and cared about them enough and made sure that they knew that she cared about them enough, that she was going to try and help them reach the change that they surely needed. And so I have not only used her influence on my office, but her dedication is unmatched. So she will be a difficult person to replace here next December.
Next meeting, February 6th, 7:30. Well,